Today we're going to be talking about the grandfather clock and its effect on the relationship between technology and society. In the 1650s, Dutch astronomer Christian Huygens wanted a more accurate clock to help him track the movement of stars and planets. He was the first one to create a clock that was weight driven by a pendulum. The grandfather clock, also known at the time of its creation as the long case clock or floor clock because of its height, originated in the late 17th century, specifically in the 1670s, and is attributed to a British clockmaker named William Clement. Clements created what he called the Royal Pendulum, which was 39 inches in length and took a full second to swing back and forth. Using gears and mechanisms, the grandfather clock was invented to be a more reliable version of the solar clock because it was unaffected by the weather. The clock was extremely accurate, with no variation exceeding 10 seconds a day, and was so accurate that a minute and a second hand could be added. Enclosed by a wooden case that ranged from 6 to 7 feet tall, the clock was ginormous and elegant compared to the ones that came before it. In 1685, the first grandfather clocks crossed the Atlantic Ocean and arrived in the American colonies. 10 years after that, the clocks were being produced in the colonies and were declared cutting-edge technology in the late 1600s and early 1700s. Due to this, they were insanely expensive, making only the extremely rich able to afford them. It was only in the late 1700s that they started becoming more affordable and common in people's homes. The grandfather clock coined its name from long case clock in 1875 when a songwriter named Henry Work wrote a popular song called My Grandfather's Clock, detailing the specifics of what seems to be a long case clock. The first grandfather clocks featured a classical architectural appearance, but a variety of styles have enjoyed popularity over the years. These different styles have varying attributes like glass, engravings, chimes, colors, and more. These clocks have also inspired grandmother clocks, which are basically lower height grandfather clocks. Within society, the grandfather clocks are treated as a family heirloom and hold much importance among many heritages. Its intended use is both practical and symbolic, as it has greater timekeeping precision than earlier domestic clocks and represents household status and craftsmanship. Seen in many old and new homes today, grandfather clocks are valued not only for their function, but for their artistry, historical importance, and nostalgia charm. In many households, they are kept mainly for their decorative and antique value, having been superseded by modern, analog, and digital timekeepers. Driven by gravity, the grandfather clock is a shining example of the mechanical perfection that was reached during the Industrial Revolution.
The largest change that grandfather clocks have made over the years is a change from functional to decorative purposes, due to societal impacts. So before, in ancient times in the 15 to 1600s, timekeeping was originally with sundials and water clocks, which eventually became mechanical clocks, such as the pendulum discovered by Galileo. Christian Huygens made the first pendulum, who was a Dutch scientist, and eventually in the 1660s, his invention became popular in British clockmakers, and they began experimenting with pendulum clocks. In this era, grandfather clocks weren't invented yet, and the reason that timekeeping was largely functional was that this is when it was developing, and scientists and engineers are trying to make it more efficient through the mechanical clock and improve from the original sundial and water clocks so that timekeeping could be more widespread and well integrated into society. An invention called the anchor escapement development by English clockmaker called William Clement could have signaled a shift from a functional to decorative purpose of the grandfather clocks. This basically allowed for more accuracy in pendulums and caused longer pendulum swings, which made timekeeping more practical for day-to-day use. And so in 1680, the first grandfather clocks were invented, and the reason that these clocks were so tall and so bulky was to house these long pendulum systems. After the technological refinement of these clocks, they became more symbols of wealth, as seen in the late 17th and early 18th century, where they started to become more and more expensive and complex, and only seen in houses of royalty and nobility. They became large status symbols, and the high levels of craftsmanship that were required to go into them started to turn them into ornaments rather than function. These clocks were also starting to get produced in the States, possibly inspired by their European counterparts. and were also exclusively housed in the homes of the wealthy. Another great societal shift in the 18th and 19th century, like the Industrial Revolution, made these clocks much more widespread and easier to mass produce. These techniques made from the Industrial Revolution and the 18th century made it easier to produce these clocks and made them much more cheap and affordable to other people, and they became smaller and developed other variations such as grandmother and granddaughter clocks. Thanks to this new technology, many homes were able to afford these decorative pieces that only royalty could afford before. And these were able to mass produce so that essentially every home in the United States or other countries was able to have one. Later, in the 20th and 21st century and modern day, they were mostly replaced, as you can see, by digital clocks, but they still are decorative pieces. The relationship with grandfather clocks in society, as seen through the stages, initially inventing for functionality, then switching to solely decorative purposes once the mechanism was perfected, and then being more widely distributed due to advances in manufacturing, and finally becoming replaced by modern technology, highlights the parallels between shifting technology and society.
As grandfather clocks have evolved over time, so has their relationship with technology and society. Prior to the widespread adoption of grandfather clocks in modern cultures, humans kept track of time via more imprecise methods, such as the sundial and water clock. The accuracy and precision of grandfather clocks revolutionized how humans interact with one another by transforming societies to be able to adopt a new level of efficiency, synchronization, and connection to their past. Grandfather clocks enabled societies to adopt a new level of efficiency. Precision timekeeping was a crucial advancement to enable individuals the opportunity to optimize their use of time and contribute more effectively to collective enterprises. By allowing individuals to be reliably coordinated on the same time schedule, factory managers could demand precise work shifts to maximize worker output. Additionally, transportation was able to evolve by standardizing time across regions to develop efficient transport on railways, canals, and roads. These developments caused societies to put greater value in punctuality, productivity, and efficiency. A great example of this shift in societal norms was the Industrial Revolution, which was an era of economical, technological, and cultural change in the 18th century, from a primarily agrarian and craftsmanship society to a machine-dominated industrial society. This revolution was a direct product of the innovation of precise timekeeping by the grandfather clock and reveals how all-consuming these changes were to early societies. Grandfather clocks also enabled societies to adopt a new level of societal synchronization and sense of unity. During the popularization of grandfather clocks, they began to be placed in communal spaces, such as churches, town squares, and/or civic halls. Over time, these clocks have transcended their functional roles to become cultural icons, luring tourists from all over the world to unite in awe of this shared wonder. A great example of this is Big Ben in London, England, which draws millions of tourists annually to experience a collective appreciation of time and history. Furthermore, communal grandfather clocks have led to a synchronization in routines. Grandfather clocks are often accompanied by bells, which ring at respective significant times in different cultures to indicate times of prayer, commemoration, or community gatherings. In this way, these timepieces have not only measured time, but have also marked the moments that define our shared human experiences, exemplifying how grandfather clocks have surpassed pure functional uses to unite and synchronize cultures and societies. The final way that grandfather clocks have left a lasting impression on societies is by representing status, wealth, and a connection to the past. Grandfather clocks have been iconically known for their elaborate wood carvings and grandiose size. In addition to their timekeeping innovations, the style and intricacies of these clocks dates them to unique time periods, artists, and owners. Today, these remaining clocks tend to be passed down through generations of families, tying descendants to their ancestors and providing a window to the past that connects individuals and families to their societies. In conclusion, grandfather clocks' evolution in human society reveals that their lasting impact is far greater than simple time-telling tools, but facilitators of efficiency, coordinators of social connection, and tethers to our history.
The grandfather clock, developed in the 17th century using pendulum technology, had a profound impact on both society and technology. Its precise timekeeping revolutionized daily life by allowing for more accurate scheduling, which was essential in the rise of industrialization and urban organization. It advanced engineering with intricate gears and escapements, laying groundwork for later innovations. The clock became a symbol of wealth and refinement, often serving as a centerpiece in affluent homes. Beyond its function, it gained cultural significance as a representation of time, tradition, immortality in art, literature, and folklore. Thank you for watching.